Welcome to Season 5, Episode 2 of Press Any Button to Continue. My name is Keith and I'm joined by my Tamagotchi-loving co-host Nisha. That's right, today we are taking you way back to the glorious toys of the 90s. Whether you were stretching that Armstrong or bopping it and twisting it, there's enough innuendos to make jokes for a lifetime. Do you all remember the sleep paralysis demon of a Furby on low battery screaming, "I love you"? Whether it was you or your mum that had a little Woody and Buzz in the bedroom, these toys left a mark on our childhoods. It's morphin' time, baby, and I got some Elmos to tickle. So slap that Betty spaghetti and flick those Beanie Babies, because this little pony is ready to wrestle today with our top 90s toys.
Man, the nostalgia of that intro was powerful. It was palpable. You're after naming loads of toys there that I didn't even think of. My Little Pony, Bop It, a Furby. That thing about the Furby dying. Furbies were Furbies like totally took over when they came out, didn't they?
Furbies were just absolutely incredible. Like they were basically, it was AI, man. It was the AI of the past, which is like such a way of looking at it. Because
did you have a Furby?
I had a Furby, and I had the experience. I remember having a Furby in my room, and I was very invested in the idea of raising this thing. You know, like I loved toys similar to Tamagotchis that I was very involved in, and I could really pretend of, you know, making this weird creature my friend and growing up with it. Because what Furbies did is, I'm sure it was very basic for the time, but they learned some of your speech and they talk back to you and they'd learn English as time went along. And
did they?
Yeah, and you'd feed them and they'd blink. But my one was so scary, I had to at night put a blanket over it because it would look at me and wake up, because sounds would wake it up. So it would look at you and it would start blinking in the middle of the night, being like, "Hello," and it was like, "You want to play a game?" And I was like, "What's going on, Furby?"
No way.
And then like I'd look away, and the Furby was the other side of the room, like he went over there. He's like, "I'm watching you."
Oh, that's mad, man. It's crazy when there's a toy that's released and it just becomes the toy of the time and everyone loses their fucking shit over this toy. Like, remember when like Beanie Babies were a craze? I don't know if you know, but I remember when did Frozen come out? You know, the Disney
probably
movie
about
Frozen.
2000, I don't know, I would say like 2014, 13 maybe.
Yeah,
15.
When that came out, there was like I don't know if it was an Elsa doll or something like that. That's one of the ones that I can remember, like as an adult, because I remember my brother trying to get it for my niece.
Yes, the fact you can't find them for Christmas, like the pressure that parents are under to get these, and I mean, more importantly, we're Irish. Do you know what I mean? This is not just a 90s toys list. This is a very Irish 90s toys list of what we had, and let me be totally honest. Like a lot of stock didn't make it over to the Emerald Isles. I'm sure of what you had growing up. You know,
Like imagine trying to source toys in the 90s in Ireland. Like, what would you had? You had the Pied Piper toy shop. Do you remember that?
I don't. Toy Master. Like Smith's, Toy Master, World of Wonder were the ones that I specifically remember growing up.
World of Wonder?
World of Wonder still exists, I think.
Oh, really? Yeah. There's actually a really cool, probably the coolest toy shop that I know of that still exists in Ireland is in Wicklow Town, and it's a Toy Master, but it's like the most legit Toy Master. I don't see Toy Masters around anymore.
The Toy Masters that
like
exist
stocked with toys.
We have one in Macroom. The way they work is it's almost like you know when shops take the license of something else but it's still their shop. So like, you know, the way like a Centra or like something like that. I think that's what Toy Masters have. There's a few ones that are owned by proper people and they sell the toys they want, but they just have the Toy Master name that they're going to have over it, you know?
Ah, right. Yeah. I didn't realise that. Yeah.
Now, Nisha...
Well, that makes total sense.
You mentioned something there. It was a Freudian slip, but talking about toys and being Irish, how can we not mention the toy show?
Oh, yeah, true. Did we mention the toy show on the podcast before? Possibly. But for people outside of Ireland, basically every Christmas time, or every December, there is on the national broadcasting channel. Is that what it is?
Yeah, is it RTE specifically?
Yeah, what was that, like the national broadcaster? Is that what it's called?
Possibly, yeah.
On RTE, there is what's called the toy show, and it's the presenter of the big late night talk show of the company, like Late Night with Jimmy Kimmel or something. That dude would do a toy show, and they would basically just advertise all these toys, and the general public would have to win competitions to get tickets to go. And they'd all get pissed.
It's beloved. It's beloved. Like it's bigger than Christmas itself in Ireland. Like
it's fucking close.
People get their pajamas. The whole family watches. It's a cringy good time because it's a show run by one adult and hundreds of children, and you can imagine how that just turns to shit so quickly. And the idea is they're advertising all the famous toys. But the reason I mention this, you beautiful listeners, is I highly recommend looking up the Late Late Toy Show on YouTube, Best Bits, and you will find some of the most glorious, hilarious cringe of all life. And it will really, if you want to know what it is to be Irish, just watch a bit of the toy show. It encapsulates it so well.
Man, I thought you were going to talk about the Lara Croft Tomb Raider toy show scene.
Well, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it.
Oh, which is hilarious.
It is.
Toys, Keith. 90s, 80s, 90s, whatever your childhood toys are.
Well, unfortunately, this episode's called the 90s, so you're going to have to fucking deal with that. Yeah, it's 90s Toys is the name of the episode.
I'm actually fairly sure. I think I'm lucky enough that all mine were in the 90s. Anyway.
I tell you, there'll be a couple of betrayals screaming out here in a hot second because
I was 3 in 1990, so that was like that's when you start getting into toys, man. Imaginary play and that kind of thing. So
I wasn't born in 1990. I was born in 1991, so I had to really. But I had sisters, so older sisters that I can remember a lot of toys about with as well.
Yeah.
But all right, come on, hit me with some things. Now, we're going to save our favourite one for part 2 along with some listener questions, so keep an eye out for that one. But let's get the ball rolling.
Actually, sorry, before we roll the ball, right, can we just say our new episode is actually, our Season 5 Episode 1 is dropping tomorrow.
It is.
So currently we are the 11th of June, and our new episode is dropping tomorrow, and it's going to be a little bit different, and we're very excited about it. Keith made some incredible new podcast art today. I think we should tell them about how excited we got today with the likes of the new art and the new style.
You said it very well, actually. You were like, it's like cleaning your room and reorganizing it as a kid. I actually want to do a whole episode on that, by the way. I'd love to do a whole episode on that itself.
That's a really good shout.
Because I did that so much growing up. But it is like, I think, when you finish the season and you're starting a new one, and by the way, you might be wondering, how has the episode not released yet and we're recording? We haven't formally announced it, and we really should. We're doing an episode a week.
Yes, we are. We're doing an episode a week. That needs to be
put in the Discord tonight, I think, to let people know we're doing an episode a week.
And we're ahead of schedule as well. We've got this shit nailed.
And we're doing Patreon content after every episode as well, which is an after hours talk and processing what happened in the podcast. So be sure to check that out too. But we did a new image today. We freshened it up. We wanted to catch people's eyes again. We're doing 2 parts per episode because the more we thought about it, the more feedback we got. Everyone's like, that's more digestible bites, which is exciting too. So now we have 3 little individual pieces of content coming at you every week rather than one every 2 weeks. So it's very exciting from that point of view.
It is. It's a big change, and it is exciting. It's very motivating moving forward. And like Keith was saying, it's almost like that feeling that me and Keith both get this of when you like tidy your room as a kid, you reorganize your room, you change your setup, and you get that nice fresh feeling. Everything's the same, but you've freshened it up, you've tweaked it a little bit, and it just is that nice kind of gleam on it. So we're very excited about Season 5 and kicking it off, and we're already in episode 2, which is really cool. So
this is the first time ever we recorded an episode a week after week, by the way.
So in over 2 years, over 2 years of doing the podcast.
Also, is it our 2-year anniversary?
Fuck, is it? Oh shit!
It definitely is.
Oh fuck! Hold on a second. What date I just said? We're the 11th of June. Let me just open up Spotify and see when did we look at that new logo. Check out our new logo. Oh, it's so fucking cool.
I like it. It's simple.
My god! Oh no, it's next week. It's the 22nd of June.
But we would have recorded the week before, so today is the first time we recorded an episode 2 years ago.
No way! No fucking way!
So today we're recording.
Happy
2 years,
man.
Nisha. Wow.
That's That's crazy. I can't believe I didn't think about that. How did I not?
It just came into my head there when you were talking about the time. But happy 2 years. If you've enjoyed the podcast, fucking rate it 5 stars, you asshole, and subscribe 19 times each to the Patreon. Because we have a new logo, we're going to have to put it on something to give you. So will we slide on into it?
Yeah. Let's do it. So I'm going to hit you on my first one, right? And this was a very well-known toy, and it was Action Man.
How did I forget Action Man?
Might not have necessarily been released in the 90s, but that's when I was playing with Action Man.
That's fair.
That was my peak toy time, was the 90s. And I had a good few different Action Men, and I can't remember the name of the villain in Action Man. I think he had like one eye and a shaved head, or did he have like an X through his eye? I used to love playing with Action Man in the bath for some reason.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Because you could swim, like pretending we were swimming and stuff like that. Did you ever see Eddie Murphy Raw or Eddie Murphy?
No.
Delirious, his stand-up comedy special.
Maybe a little bit, but not really.
There's a joke in that where he's talking about Action Man. I won't ruin it. Yeah, check out Eddie Murphy.
No, just say it. Tell me what it is.
Basically, he's like he's kind of mimicking him as a kid playing an Action Man, and he's like, Action Man is swimming through the water, and then he's like, and then a big brown shark came because he shit the bath, and then he's like, and then he wanted to know where the bubbles was coming from, and he sticks it up his arse or something. Fucking chaos. But it was very funny. But Action Man, I used to love playing with Action Man. I used to love like kind of like scuba. I had like a water one, and I used to love the just kind of imagination of playing in the bath and jumping, and like you were diving off a big cliff into the water and that kind
I
of
still
crack.
have one of mine that you can look through the back of his chest through like a camera lens thing, and it's like yeah, I can't remember specifically of it, and I think he like squeezes his legs and like takes a photo or some shit like that.
Oh, does it? Yeah.
There was some weird one that I had like that.
Oh my god, that's kind of going back to me, something like that.
But also, I have a vivid memory of only being one of my earliest memories is going in to see Santa and asking for Action Man. And my parents took me, and it was in like it was in a supermarket. You know, you do the circle. You know, you queue up for ages. Yeah. You see Santa, who looks like he's wearing a tea towel on his face that he's eating, and and you go in, and it's like, oh, sit on my lap. And you tell him, and it's like, I remember being like, I want Action Man, and then I left, and I told my parents I forgot to tell them I wanted the villain too. So they had to queue me all the back fucking around, queue me all the way back in so I could tell Santa that I also wanted his arch nemesis, whatever he was.
Yeah, and did they do it? Did they bring it back around for a second go?
They did.
They're fucking fair play to them.
I know.
Some fucking pair, huh? So Action Man, and specifically playing Action Man in the bath, are like, you know, core memories of just splish splashing around the bath, man. Every kid loves having a fucking bath.
This do be true. I'm going to give you something that caused me as much anxiety as the moon from Majora's Mask. I have a lot of stuff around here, so I'll try and kind of fly through some of them. Do you remember the crocodile teeth game? Where that shit's fucking hurts. That actually hurts your finger. I hate it.
Pull the teeth or press the teeth?
No. So this is basically what's that game with the straws? You know, draw the long straw, the short straw. It's basically that, right?
Yeah.
So it changes every time. The crocodile has a full set of teeth. You have to put your hand into this crocodile, and you have to push down his teeth, and if it chomps on your hand, you lose. So it's kind of like Jenga, but random. You know what I mean? It's like it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
That scared the fucking bejesus out of me. And I remember it hurting. So like there was a bit of there was a bit of fear in it.
Board games, man, like that's considered a board game, would it be?
Well, I mean a game, board game. Well, it's very toyish. Like there's no game in it.
Actually, yeah, it is.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the same thing as well as like Twister. Like a Jenga and Twister made my list because they are toys,
like
but. I don't know. You see, the kiddie ones feel like it.
I have board games on my list as a general. Like, do you remember like was it Screwball Scramble or Rat Trap? Was it Rat Trap Rat Race? Where you had like a marble on like a little obstacle course.
I remember the ad for it.
Go around. Yeah.
Oh,
and then there was like,
and
there was Mousetrap as well. Do you remember Mousetrap? It was kind of similar thing.
Yeah, and all the ads for
the cage.
Yeah, the cage that comes down on him. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember.
Oh, fuck. Jesus, that's only after coming back. Cage part just came back to me. Fucking hell. Man, I used to fucking love board games. I remember having a really weird one where it was like a laboratory, and you'd make like sweets, so you'd make food,
Yes.
and you'd eat them, and I'd be like, that's definitely pure poison, like,
Yeah,
or pure sugar, should I say?
There was like that
But,
one as well with the man where you put stuff in his brain and it comes out in like gooey snots coming out of his nose. Yeah, that shit as well.
Or like remember Mr. Frosty?
Oh, I
You'd
do.
make, like,
I made the ices.
Ice pops or snow cones or whatever. Yeah.
All those food things are like, give me the shiver me timbers. Like, you know what I mean? It's definitely pure poison. Because like they had to survive boxes for years. So anything that like doesn't go off inside a box and turns into gelatin that you can eat, I don't know.
Yeah.
We're wondering what's so fucked up with this generation. You could probably go back to all the ingestion of like food toys or whatever they were. Do you remember Sock'em Rock'em robots? The like robots that you tap the things and go punch into their head pops up.
I never had them, but I definitely know them. They're kind of iconic toys, aren't they? I have one that's it's funny. I don't think in today's market it would suit as a toy, but Stretch Armstrong.
Yeah. Some of us too. The main intro.
Yeah, like all you did was stretch. You pulled the arms apart, pulled the legs apart. That was it. But it was so fucking cool. Like I can remember standing outside my granny's back garden with Aiden and us being like, "We're gonna rip him in half."
Proper tug of war.
Yeah. And just trying our best. But it was so cool. I can still remember like almost the texture and the feel of it.
Yeah. I remember mine breaking.
Oh, did it? Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember like I think there's like a specific I think the reason why maybe it doesn't exist anymore is I think there's like a specific warning that's like the inside shit is hazardous. Do you know what I mean? So it was like that was problematic to say the least. But yeah, I had a Stretch Armstrong, and there was always someone as well when you're pulling it that somehow like a fucking whacked into your head and like.
That shit would knock you out, like, because it was, although it was malleable, is that the right word? It was also quite hard as well, like, so it would fucking knock you out. It actually just
like my own Stretch Armstrong, do you know what I mean?
It just reminded me of Play-Doh.
Yeah, Marla. Marla as would call it in Ireland.
Is that Marla?
Yeah, Marla. Do you know?
Marla.
Do you know what that is?
No.
I mean, that's like a specific Cork thing.
Is that the Irish name for Play-Doh? Yeah.
It's not the Irish name for it, but it's like. That's what we called it, Morla or Marla. Like, as in.
Oh, really? Yeah.
This is freaking me out now, Nisha. Like, so, like, Play-Doh was a very specific type of version of that. But do you remember you used to get the strips of red, green, yellow, blue? They were like ribbed, and they were the
Yes, I do.
That's
yeah.
Marla,
oh my god. Right.
That's
yeah.
like.
Fuck, I do remember that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. That was in every school. Like, that was our Play-Doh.
Yes.
We never actually really had Play-Doh. You know what I mean? Like. That was the shit we had. It was like modeling clay almost.
Yeah. Fuck, I do remember that. Because when I envisioned Play-Doh, I thought of like the yellow tub with fucking just the goo.
Which you're right,
stuff in it. But that stuff that comes in strips as well.
That's the Irish
totally
stuff.
Forgot about that.
That you make little creatures out of. Like you'd make little snowmen and little action figures and stuff.
Deadly.
I remember my friend Richard. You know, do you know who he is? Anyone who's listened to 4 seasons of the podcast. He, till maybe this day even, has all his Morla creations on top of a shelf that have been there for 25, 26 years.
Fuck off.
And I'd say they're completely molded, dusty guys. I'm not sure if he still has them there today, but he had them there when we were like 20 odd, I think.
Right,
and I have such vivid memories of being in his bunk room, sleeping over and seeing all the little bios that would make. That's cool.
From the movie Small Soldiers. Did you ever get any of the toys from Small Soldiers, man?
I don't think so, but those green little soldiers in general were like, you know, fucking classic. But I don't think they were specifically 90s, but they were classic. Like,
were they not? Were they 90s? Surely that's.
Well, sorry, Small Soldiers is 90, but you know the way like those soldiers always existed.
Yeah, no. Small Soldiers is with the Argonauts and I am something leader of the Argonauts. What's his fucking name?
Yeah, you're talking about like a specific branded thing, yeah.
Yeah, it's the movie.
I know.
Not like but there used to be 2 big tall toys. You could get the action figures, but they were like not like bigger than Action Men. Like big fuck off things. And I remember my brother Luke had the really, really cool ones. And I remember him playing with them an awful lot. And then I can remember whenever he wasn't there, when you're a little bit, you think you're too old to be playing with toys.
Yeah,
You have to sneak an L play in.
Yeah.
I used to just sneak an L play.
I fucking
used
love
to
that,
sneak
man.
an L
I was
play
the
in.
same. Like, definitely, like, hope no one ever sees this.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
now you
yeah.
realize how important play is, and toys are so important, and playing is so important, and the more you can do it, the better.
Yeah.
That's a cool old one. I mean, ones that come into my mind, I think of summer. I think of the Super Soakers, which really came out in the 90's.
Oh yeah.
Which were so
Super
cool.
Soakers were great, yeah.
And some of them were like
yeah.
really fancy battery powered triple pump fucking
stop. Yeah,
jerk
yeah.
lurk fucking super cum
Yeah.
squirter dirters, you know?
Yeah,
That was a
yeah,
whole
yeah.
thing. One featured in Home Alone was the Talk Boy. Where,
Talk Boy?
Yeah, where you could
Do you
record
know
into something.
Do you know the lore behind this?
No.
So now this is what I've heard, right, about the Talk Boy in Home Alone. Is it Talk Boy? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that wasn't a real toy. They made that for the movie.
And then
when
it
the movie came out, then every kid was like, I fucking want a Talk Boy or whatever it's called. Now, that is my understanding of it. And then they just couldn't get enough of them out. Do you know what I should have watched in preparation for this? I can't believe I didn't think to. The Toys That Made Us. Did you ever watch that documentary
No.
on Netflix, those few episodes?
No.
Oh man, there's a great multi-series documentary called The Toys That Made Us.
Uh-huh.
I'd highly recommend checking it out.
I
after
wouldn't
this. It's
highly
very, very
recommend
cool.
checking it out because we're
Why?
doing our own version of it and we're telling you the toys that made us. You don't need to go anywhere. You know what I mean? This is,
Yeah.
maybe the episode should be called The Toys That Made Us. Can we rob the titles?
I vaguely remember them talking about the Talk Boy wasn't actually a toy, but they made it for the movie. Then when the movie came out, it kind of kids went wild and were like, I want this, and then they actually made it, which I think is really cool.
I'm
They
shocked.
used to have a pen as well. They had like a Talk Boy pen. Do you remember that?
I do,
And
vaguely.
I think they had a Talk Boy watch as well.
Vaguely.
I vaguely remember. I'm fairly sure my brother had the pen, which I think is really cool. But do you remember Mighty Max and Polly Pockets?
Polly Pockets, yes. Mighty Max, vaguely. I had Pokemon Polly Pockets.
Did you? Yeah, have
Mhm.
Pokemon Polly Pockets.
Very
Yeah,
cool. Charmander, Bulbasaur, and Squirtle, and an Oak Slab, and a Polly Pocket.
Oh, yeah, I think I might have seen something like that before. Well, there was Polly Pockets. Polly Pockets were kind of geared towards young girls,
Mhm.
and they brought out the Mighty Max at the time to be geared towards
Oh, and
young
that was
boys.
just the same thing.
And it was the exact same
Mhm.
thing, but I had one that was like a snake head, and it just had like a little like lava pit inside it. And it's just so funny how, again, like a simple small piece of plastic that's like an oyster shell that
Mhm.
opens up, has a tiny little world in it. You have a little figure that's about a centimeter high or 2 centimeters high, and you can just, well, I would play for hours
Mhm.
with my Mighty Max, and I loved it. I remember I had two of them. I think one was a snake head and one was like a skull.
Oh, you
and
play
you
for
jump.
hours with your Mighty Max. Sorry, we're recording on Discord, right? So sometimes if I like make too much of a noise, it cuts out. You don't hear me.
All right.
But you just saying I play for hours with my Mighty Max is just such a quotable line, man. Holy fuck.
Man, and then I remember I was staying in my mum's friend's house, and she used to babysit me, and she brought me down to a shop in Dunleary that's called the Ladden's Cave. It's like a pound shop, you know,
Mhm.
like a Euro shop, whatever. And they had a Street Fighter like Polly Pocket, and it was a Super Nintendo controller that opened up, and I think it had Blanca and maybe E Honda or something in it. But it had Street Fighter toys, and I'll never forget she bought me that, and I can just remember staying at the night in her house and just playing with that thing over like all night, man. So cool. Just very simple,
Mhm.
very small, and it was all just imaginative play. It was
I just
very,
love
very
that
fun.
so much because like those are the things that I always love the most because I always need toys that like I can play with in the sense that like the fact there's these tiny little figurines and they're in this case that has the world within them and you can imagine all these different scenarios.
Mhm.
It's just I want to play now, you know what I mean? I want to do that now. Like I want to sit at a desk with the sun shining into the window, my mum cooking downstairs, nothing else to do, like the nice summer sounds. But what other
very
couple
cool.
of ones do I got rocking in here? I mean, how can you not talk about the Tamagotchi? I mean, up there with Furby. Also, there was the three robotic ones, right? Or like Furby, Tamagotchi, and there was Poochie, the robot dog. I don't know if you remember Poochie. He was like
Is it like silver chrome.
yes, he was a little silver chrome and he had a little screen for eyes. They were like,
yeah.
He was just before the year 2000 as well, which was like just that big millennial. Like, remember they thought the millennial computer crash was going to happen. He was like, the dogs will take over the earth.
Yeah. Man, do you know what that just reminded me of? Sorry, and it's toy related. It is looking through the Argos catalogue for
the Smith's
toys.
catalogue.
Well, for me, it was the Argos
Argos,
catalogue,
yeah.
man, and because it was huge, and I can remember looking at the toy section and like, you know, marking things out that you wanted to get off Santa Claus or you wanted to get for your birthday or something like that. And those toys specifically brought it back to me because I can remember seeing that dog in Argos or Smith's or whatever. I'm fairly sure it was the Argos catalogue, but just the nostalgia of that, like how times have changed, and then you go down to Argos and you type in the code to see if they had it in stock.
I still get the Smith's Christmas catalogue delivered to my house every year, baby.
Oh, do you? Yeah. I actually got it this year, man. You could fill out a form online, and I got it. Yeah, got it.
Did you ever play the game growing up with your friends where you had to pick one thing on both pages, and then you'd both pick the one thing you wanted, and then you go to the next one, you have to pick one thing on each page?
No.
Such a memorable game. Like when we used to have sleepovers and we used to have cereal in the morning, we'd get out the Smith's catalogue and we used to play that game while eating our cereal. Like, you have to pick one thing on the page, what's going to be, and we'd see if we picked the same thing. So we both picked it in our minds and we pointed it at the same time and see what matched up and what didn't.
Deadly, man. That's very, very cool.
Do you remember the Dream phone? A very controversial one. When you look back at it now, it's so funny.
That was like a board game
with
a pink phone or something?
Yes. And it's the funniest fucking commercial of all time, man. It's scandalous. Now, it's
What's
not,
it about?
It's not scandalous. Like, it's just... The idea of it's scandalous. It's not actually scandalous, right? So it's a phone where, like, it's really going into like the stereotypical girl stuff. Do you know what I mean? So like they had a phone and it was geared towards like girls, I don't know, from like fucking 10 to 13 or something, and they had a phone and they had all these guys. So like it's like a dating thing, right? They're like, so they ring the phone and it goes bloop bloop. I'm gonna dial Dan and see if he likes me, and he goes, I really like you, right? And all this shit. But the problem with it is they were all men.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So in the eyes of, like, obviously, you know, the childhood thing, it's fine, you know, they have crushes and stuff, but it's so funny now because the ad has gone viral around the place because as a meme, just as like a funny thing, because it's like on TikTok they were zooming in, it's like, this guy has a receding hairline, I'm pretty sure he's not,
for
like,
fuck's sake. They didn't think to get like of age actors to do.
Look, dude, it's not even, it's just pictures of things. I mean, in reality there's nothing wrong with it. It's just such a funny 90s thing, you know what I mean?
I must look it up and see.
That's please do.
You know what, that reminded me of the board game Guess Who?
Yes,
because you know you're like, did they have glasses? Did they have freckles? Whatever it was, that was kind
a tiny cock.
That was actually that was actually that was a really good game. A really good, like, what would you say, time passer. You could just keep playing it over and over and over. I think one of the biggest toys for me in the 90s, and I have a bit of a funny story about this that only happened recently, which is kind of mad, was Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles. So obviously the Turtles were huge and the toy line was insane. Like, I remember there used to be like a full page of Turtles toys in the Argos, if not like a multi-spread page. I can remember having like Leonardo, Raphael, Donatello, Michelangelo, all the different toys and their different weapons, and I specifically remember me and my friend across the road, Johnny, used to play with them all the time. But a few weeks ago I was up in my mom's house, and I noticed, I saw my friend Johnny across the road, so I went over and was just having a little chat with him. And you know, we're both in our like late 30s, and his son came out with like a car. And I looked at it, and Johnny was like, do you remember that? And I looked, and it was like his original Turtles toy, like one of the vehicles that had been up in his attic that he had totally forgotten about, right? He's not into kind of geeky stuff, gaming, anything like that. And he was like, this was just put up there in a box and totally forgotten about. And that's his childhood home, but it's his house now. And he was like, yeah, I found it the other day, and he gave it to his kid, and his kid was playing it, and I was like, isn't that fucking cool, man?
It's so incredible.
Like that Turtles toy has gone from him in the 90s to now his son in 2024. Like, it's fucking nuts, man.
It kind of reminds me how, you know, when you look at movies and you're like, practical effects never get old. It's
Yeah.
the same way like that, like physical toys never get old. Like, you know, old Tamagotchis or anything like that, they'll all break down and they'll move on and they'll get outdated. But just basic practical toys, you know, they never get old. You know what I mean? They're gonna always
like
be
a fucking
used.
like a ball on a string, fucking in a cup,
or you know, ones that I was
like,
thinking of that are like that. Slinkies, man. Slinkies were so huge in the 90s.
Yeah,
rolling down the stairs with their multicolored or fucking yo-yos. People got obsessed with yo-yos, like spinning them around in the classroom with their tricks, like going, like lassoing, like thinking they were hot shit.
Yeah,
oh my
and there was
god!
like Fanta ones and Sprite ones and 7-Up ones. Man, do you remember the scene in Ace Ventura when Nature Calls when he's coming down from the temple and he has like a slinky and they're in a rush and there's like hundreds and hundreds of steps and he's like, I'll meet you at the bottom or something, and he's like going they're standing there for ages waiting for Jim Carrey to come down, and he's like, Slinky, everyone loves it, and he's like going down and he gets to the very last step and it stops on the last one and he's like, no, and he wants to do it again. I just fucking, whenever I think of a Slinky, man, I just think of Ace Ventura when Nature Calls. That fucking scene is hilarious.
I'll have to check it out. I've never watched it, man. Never watched it.
Oh, have you not?
No,
oh,
but it sounds hilarious.
Have you seen either of the Ace Ventura movies?
No.
Oh, Keith, man, they are fucking hilarious.
Maybe we should watch them together on Discord or something.
Very well, but yeah, man. Oh, this so funny. I loved specifically the second one with When Nature Calls. It was very, very good.
Bop It, Twisted, Fucking Fisted was absolutely huge. One of those other like battery operated toys that sucked the toys that sucked the life out of batteries, man. The parents were like, does not include batteries, AA's gone in 12 minutes, like, or rechargeable cars that took, remember rechargeable cars that took 9 hours to recharge and then would last for 4 seconds. Like absolutely
like remote
insane.
control cars.
Yeah. There was one toy that I never got growing up that I was dying for. To this day, I still want it.
Oh, really? Yeah.
But I
what's
wouldn't
that?
fit in it anymore, unfortunately. Do you remember those electric mini Jeeps? Like Jeeps that you could get into and you charge and you could literally drive them around as a kid. I wanted one of them so badly, like dreamed of driving around my front garden. I can still remember me fantasizing about going in and bringing my childhood sweetheart in the passenger seat, going for a stroll down the drive, you know,
cruise.
Oh, I remember specifically talking to my parents about it, and they're like, "Sure, where would we put it? We can't fit it anywhere." And my dad was thinking, like, maybe we could hang it off the roof or something, you know, like hold it on a hook. I remember that conversation, like, you know,
which
is kind of wild.
You actually unlocked a memory there. So I used to have like a red. It looked like a racing bike, but it was an electric, like chargeable bike that you'd sit on and drive around the road.
Yes.
And it was very, very cool. And then I remember my brother Luke had a quad bike, and it was like blue, yellow, green, and white. And it had like the pedal. There was a pedal on it, you push it down and it would drive. And man, that thing had some speed in it, man. I remember like we'd be rocking up the road.
Well, particularly if you added gravity. If you added gravity to the mix while you had the power of it going, you know.
Yeah. Oh man. That thing was like, it's funny, isn't it funny how like safety just, you know, you'd build like a big huge fucking ramp and you're like, right, I'm going up this ramp on my bike or my skateboard, and you're not a fucking helmet in sight like a fucking idiot, like.
Right, I have one more here I'm thinking of doing, and then maybe we could maybe start looking some honorable mentions in our favorite for part 2, along with some user submissions, possibly.
Yeah, sounds good.
This one just like is a classic, and I'm hoping you remember it. Do you remember alien eggs?
Alien eggs.
They were just eggs of all different colours, with goo in them and a little alien inside.
Oh, I fucking do.
Yeah, they were fucking incredible.
And it had like the stereotype alien, like the little silver fella with a big head. Yeah. Holy shit, I do. And that just brought me on to sea monkeys.
Yes.
Remember sea monkeys?
Oh my god.
What the fuck were they like?
What the fuck were they? Do you remember the things as well that you put in water and they'd grow? Like, you get like an alien in one of the eggs and you put them in the water and they grow on top of it too.
What the
And the sea monkeys being real, like, bacteria things that live in the water. Fucking hell. We weren't ready for the responsibility of being parents.
Do you know what I love about this conversation is it's just one thing is unlocking another thing. Like,
Yeah,
do you remember that? Do you remember
It's
this? Do you remember that?
non-stop.
Do you remember this?
I mean, and the
It's
Jeep,
just-
the Jeep's reminding you of like playhouses as well. You know, just a big playhouse in the garden that you go into like as your fort.
Yeah. We used to just building a camp. We used to call it building a camp. So we'd go like down to the woods or down to the forests and get like scraps of wood and try and build a camp. Or I remember me and Johnny took my kitchen table out the back garden and built the camp. And we took down the like, this is no fucking joke, right? We took down the lampshade because it would look like the shape of a chimney, and we put it on the kitchen table, and we got a sheet and we put it over it and we made it like a house. And I specifically remember it because we were just acting the bollocks and we were trying to like build a wall or something, and Johnny picked up a big brick that was in the back garden and dropped it on his toe.
Oh no!
And had to go home because he couldn't.
We're trying to build a wall.
Yeah. Oh fuck! We were just trying to build like our own little house, man. Oh fucking hell!
And you know what?
Jesus, it's
30
wild what
years later,
toys
we're
are
still just
unlocking.
trying to build our own house. Do you know what I mean? We'll get there one day, lads.
Oh,
Well,
brilliant.
I guess for part 1 of Press Any Button to continue of our 90s toys, we will catch you there. Join us for part 2 as we'll be diving into some of our favourites. And not just our favourites, maybe some honourable mentions to get you on in. And of course, we got plenty of listener submissions, which we haven't read yet, so we're very excited to get your take. So we will catch you all on part 2 of our 90s
Which is
toys.
out right now.
Right
Tell
now,
them
yeah,
out
it's
right
going to be
now.
out. Yeah, you should click on it right now.